Representative Brandon Gill just asked a witness a series of questions that made a Democratic state senator cry, or at least say she was almost brought to tears. The witness was a fraud investigator named Mr. Rosiak. He has been looking into Medicaid fraud in Ohio. He identified multiple individuals and LLCs that he believes engaged in fraud.
You've identified multiple individuals and LLCs that you believe engaged in fraud. How many of these had Somali or Bhutanese or other African origin names?
Gill asked him how many of these had Somali, Bhutanese, or other African origin names. 100%. He looked at hundreds of companies. 100% had names of that derivation. He thought he saw an American name once. It turned out to be the teenage son of a money launderer, a proxy for a woman from Ghana. Rosiak named names: Robert Achiapong, Roberta Achiapong, Alu Conte, who has 30 criminal charges in Ohio, Alfred Conte, convicted of Medicaid fraud. The state let him plead down. They expunged his record. He paid back only $500. The Ohio Nursing Board let him keep his license.
And then there was a different guy named Alfred Conte who was convicted of Medicaid fraud, but Ohio, Franklin County expunged his record. They let him plead down, and then they expunged his record. He didn't have to pay any money back except like $500.
Rosiak testified that the same people are operating in Minnesota and Ohio. They have relatives in both places. They move back and forth. $130 million in cash was transferred from the Columbus airport to the Minnesota airport and then to Somalia. Pallet briefcases of cash. One guy racked up $30,000 in tax debts running a daycare, so he started a home healthcare company in Minnesota, billed $35,000 in 1 month, then dissolved the company.
So then he started a home healthcare company in Minnesota, billed $35,000 in 1 month, and then dissolved the company.
Gill asked the witness to confirm. There is a large interstate criminal enterprise of Somali fraudsters defrauding the federal government of potentially billions of dollars. The witness said correct. Then Gill asked a Democratic state senator a simple question. Has Somali immigration been good for Ohio? She did not answer. She said she was almost brought to tears. She called the rhetoric hateful. She said she was shocked and appalled. She did not deny the fraud. Let's watch.
Now recognize myself for 5 minutes for the purpose of asking questions. Mr. Rosiak and all the witnesses, thank y'all again for coming here. Mr. Rosiak, you've identified multiple individuals and LLCs that you believe engaged in fraud. How many of these had Somali or Bhutanese or other African origin names?
100%.
100%. And how many did you look through? I mean, that's 100% of how many, roughly?
I looked at the names of hundreds of companies. I looked more deeply into maybe 50.
More deeply into 50. You looked into hundreds of companies, and 100%, you're telling me, had names that were Somali, Bhutanese, or other sort of African origin derivation.
Correct. I thought I saw an American, and I was very excited, but it turned out to be the teenage son of that money launderer who was actually just a proxy for this woman from Ghana.
What are some of these names that you come across? Do you hear the same names, or are they different names?
Yeah, it's funny because this started off, I was investigating a guy named Robert Achiapong, and then I found a different scammer named Roberta Achiapong, and I thought they were related, but they weren't. It's just that's how common it is to scam Medicaid when your name is Achiapong. And then I did the same thing with a guy named Alu Conte, who has 30 criminal charges in Cuyahoga County or in Franklin County and threatened my family, malicious wounding, crazy stuff. This guy's a career criminal. And then there was a different guy named Alfred Conte who was convicted of Medicaid fraud, but Ohio, Franklin County expunged his record. They let him plead down, and then they expunged his record. He didn't have to pay any money back except like $500. And the Ohio Nursing Board let him keep his license. So you've got the Contes, the Achiapongs, and it just seems to be the family business is billing Medicaid.
Criminal rings. We did a lot of work previously this year on Medicaid fraud in Minnesota. There seem to be a lot of similarities here. Can you tell us in your investigation, have you found any connections between Ohio Medicaid fraud and the Somali fraud that we saw in Minnesota?
Yeah, it's the same people. They all have relatives in both places, and they move back and forth. First of all, I think there was $130 million in cash that transferred from the Columbus airport to the Minnesota airport and then to Somalia. And so they're moving basically briefcases of cash. And there's one guy that had, basically he racked up $30,000 in tax debts in Columbus running this daycare center and not paying his taxes. So then he started a home health care company in Minnesota, billed $35,000 in 1 month, and then dissolved the company.
So I just want to be clear, your testimony is that there is a large interstate criminal enterprise of Somali fraudsters that are defrauding the federal government in multiple states of potentially billions of dollars. Is that your testimony?
Correct.
And can you give us a sense of the scale of this fraud? We saw it in Minnesota, we're seeing it here, but have you seen it in other places, or can you give us a sense for either dollar values or the number of people involved, in your opinion?
There's thousands of people involved. I would say the majority of Bhutanese people are either on Medicaid home health care or are providing Medicaid home health care services. They had recently 15,000 people. This nonprofit group, this advocacy group, which is tied to actually founded by a home health care guy. They had 15,000 Bhutanese people come to this party in Ohio, and they'd bust in all the participants on their Medicaid vans because everybody there has their own Medicaid company. And so I think Bhutanese people are systematically using Medicaid, not only in Ohio, but also in Pennsylvania and Kentucky and New York and in other states where they perceive that they will pay the family member and they will pay for non-nursing services, and those are the two big vulnerabilities.
So it's not just the Somalis, it's also Bhutanese, it's across multiple states. They're coordinating with each other. There's a network of foreigners running criminal fraud rings within our government, within our country, I should say, defrauding our federal government. Thank you so much for the work that you have done on this. It's been fantastic reporting, so we really appreciate this. Senator Antonio, thank you for being here. Has Somali immigration been good for Ohio?
You know, that's really outside of my purview of
You're a state senator. Would you like to see more immigration from Somalia?
As far as I'm processing your question, and I have to say that I was almost brought to tears just now.
72%
because
of Somali immigrants are on welfare.
The rate and the level of hateful rhetoric based on false information
at an astounding rate, and I think that most Ohioans would have a problem with that.
The lack of even humanity to
I
group
think it's
a group of
inhumane to allow
people
your
together.
own state to be defrauded at astounding rates.
I am shocked
Billions
and
of dollars
appalled by the
taken out of the
behavior
pockets
here
of working class people
I am
going to
shocked.
criminal fraudsters. I certainly have a major problem
in every
with that.
community,
I think
there are
that's
good
an issue. And I think
people
most
and there are
Americans
bad
agree.
people.
Yeah, regular
There are
order.
But to
good
try
people
to
Understand we're not
say
supposed
bad
to
people.
We're not supposed to
that
disrespect our
every
That
witnesses.
said, we're out of
member of a
time, Miss
group
Antonio.
We're not
is
supposed to
somehow a
We've already gone
criminal
over here.
is shocking to me. I am shocked and
We're
appalled.
already out of time here. That said, thank you to the witnesses for taking the time to come here. It's always fun on the Oversight Committee, always exciting. In closing, I want to formally thank you guys for your testimony today. With that and without objection, all members have 5 legislative days within which to submit materials and additional written questions for the witnesses, which will be forwarded to the witnesses. If there's no further business, without objection, the task.
This hearing is a masterclass in how to use a witness's testimony to expose a massive fraud and how a politician can react to that testimony with emotion rather than facts. Representative Brandon Gill came prepared. He had a witness who had done the investigation. He asked simple, direct questions. The answers were devastating. Rosiak testified that he looked at hundreds of companies. 100% of them had Somali, Bhutanese, or other African origin names. He thought he saw an American name once. It turned out to be the teenage son of a money launderer, a proxy for a woman from Ghana. That is not a coincidence. That is a pattern. He named names. Robert Achiapong, Roberta Achiapong, Alu Conte, with 30 criminal charges. Alfred Conte, convicted of Medicaid fraud. The state let him plead down. They expunged his record. He paid back $500. The Ohio Nursing Board let him keep his license. A convicted fraudster still licensed to provide care. That is not justice. That is a failure of the system. Rosiak then connected the fraud in Ohio to the fraud in Minnesota. It is the same people. They have relatives in both places. They move back and forth. $130 million in cash was transferred from the Columbus airport to the Minnesota airport and then to Somalia. Pallet briefcases of cash. That is not small-scale fraud. That is an international criminal enterprise. Gill asked for the scale. Rosiak said thousands of people are involved. He said the majority of Bhutanese people are either on Medicaid home health care or providing it. He described a party where 15,000 Bhutanese people were bussed in on Medicaid vans because everyone there had their own Medicaid company. That is not hyperbole. That is what he saw. Gill then asked a simple question. Has Somali immigration been good for Ohio? He asked a Democratic state senator. She did not answer. She said she was almost brought to tears. She called the rhetoric hateful. She said she was shocked and appalled. She did not deny the fraud. She did not dispute the numbers. She did not defend her state's oversight of Medicaid. She attacked the tone. That is the problem. The fraud is real. The numbers are staggering. The pattern is undeniable. But when someone points it out, they are accused of hateful rhetoric. They are accused of lacking humanity. They are accused of disrespecting entire communities. The state senator was almost brought to tears. But what about the taxpayers who lost $130 million? What about the working-class families who paid for that fraud? What about the patients who received substandard care from unqualified providers? Their tears are not being shed. The underlying issue here is not about Somali or Bhutanese people. It is about fraud. It is about a system that is being systematically exploited. It is about a government that is not doing enough to stop it. Rosiak testified that the same people are operating in multiple states. They are coordinating. They are moving cash. They are dissolving companies and starting new ones. They are getting their records expunged. They are keeping their licenses. The system is not broken. It is being gamed. And the people who point it out are being silenced. Gill did his job. He asked questions. He let the witness speak. He did not interrupt. He did not attack. He did not call names. He asked a state senator a question about immigration policy in her own state. She could have answered. She could have said that immigration has brought benefits and challenges. She could have acknowledged the fraud while defending her community. She did not. She said she was shocked and appalled. She did not answer the question.